Hey Ronnie, we're gonna be going over the C.A.G.E.D system today. So here we go. So this is how I do it. So C.A.G.E.D spells out a C, an A, a G, an E, and a D, right? And so let's just go over those chords real quick. Just cold turkey, regular old cowboy chords, just open position. We got a C major, we have an A major, G major, E major, and a D major. Okay, so a few weeks ago we've been talking about notes on the low E and finding all these notes here and there, but the same one all over the fretboard, right? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to find the C major chord, okay? The root of this chord is the 3rd fret of that A string, so I'm building everything off of that one, okay? The next thing I want you to do is we're gonna find this A again, which we already found, right? 3rd fret of the A string, and we're gonna build. And some people do like this, where they can get that high E in there from Barnet and they play these three. So the fret wise we're looking for is 3rd fret of the A string with our pointer finger. And then I'm gonna show you the way I do it with my ring finger. I lay my ring across the D string, 5th fret, G string 5th fret, B string 5th fret, and then I don't play the high E string and I just play the middle 4. That's the A inversion. You see the A in there? It looks just like this, right? And we're just having to deal with this. So now you can play it like this too, where that's the 5-5-5 of the D, G, B, and then bar the A string down. Not the low E, but the A string, because that's our C, that's the root, that's what we're building off of this. And you bar all the way to the high E string, and then you can actually get that note in there. But for the most part, I'll grab it like this, and this is totally fine. Okay, so we got C, we got an A. All right, look at this, look at this. This is the G shape, and check it out, there's a G, right? Or there's O-G-G, right? This is our C. It is a C, but it's the G shape. Okay, so this is how I do this one. The full Big Mama. Now I'm gonna show you, I break this up into 2 smaller inversions here in a second, but I'm gonna show you the Big Mama first, okay? So the first thing I do is I got my ring finger on the 8th fret of that low E string. That's our C, right? That's the other C, right? We got this C, and then we're gonna have this one. All right, ring finger, 8th fret of the low E, middle finger's on the 7 of the A string. All right, pointer finger is gonna bar the 5th fret, you heard that right, 5th fret, of the D, G, and the B. Just like this chord, right? It's the same, using the same little bit. So I've got this so far. All right, and then for the high E, I throw my pinky, same fret as that ring finger, on the 8th fret for the octave. These are both C notes, right? And then here's the full thing. But, so, practical use-wise, in your everyday playing, what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop it in half. And I go pinky on the low E now, 8th fret, rings on the 7 of the A, and then I bar these 3. Even all the way to the G string sounds good. You don't really even need the bottom 2. That sounds great by itself. All right, the other is you bar these 3 and then play the high E string. But you see how it's the full thing, right? But just for practical use wise, if you're just looking to grab this inversion, I'm going for either this one or this one. But anyways, there's the G. So we got C, A, G, and now we're gonna build another chord off of this 8th fret of the low E, which is a C, right? We're gonna build our E shape off of it, okay? And I want you to see that here's E major, right? Not really the right chord, but I love this chord. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna play with our ring fingers, we're gonna make that E shape, right? Ring, pinky, middle, and that's on the 10th fret of the A string, the 10th fret with our pinky on the D string, and then the middle finger's on the 9 of the G, okay? And then I bar the 8th fret, okay? And now, if you want to get it going without the bar, and you see I'm kind of rolling my fingers up, I'm only going to play that 8th fret of the low E, and and then the 10 of the A, 10 of the G, 9 of the G, okay? This is correct, but the full mama involves a bar, okay? So I'm gonna lock in that bar, and then I'm gonna strum the whole thing. So I'm barring the whole 8th fret, so you're hearing the notes on the 8th fret of the low E, 10 of the A, 10 of the D, 9 of the G, and then the 8 of the high E. 8 of the B, and then the high E. There's the E inversion. So far we got C, A, G, E, and now here's our D, okay? Now remember D looks like this. Roots on the B string, and also the D string, right? Because that's the D, it's a D, we're playing D chord. This is the other inversion, okay? Now, I usually just grab this version, okay? And I'm gonna show you I say the big mama, but the main shape you'll see in all the textbooks. But this is for practical purposes. But the big mama looks like this. Oops, sorry. What I would do, if you want to look at the big mama, all that's necessary is these three, okay? And the reason why I say that is because this is, you can move this around a lot easier than this thing, right? So fret-wise, I've got 12th fret of the G, ring is on the 13 of the B, middle's on the 12 of the high E string. So it looks just like a D chord, just you're highlighting that root, just you're following where the roots are. 13th fret of the B string is a C, so. The big mama. Pointer finger would be down here on the 10th fret of that D string because that's a C. And then middle finger would reach up 12 of the G. Pinky reaches underneath 13 of the B. And then 12 of the high E string with your ring finger. This is the textbook correct version because if I went all the way down and I would be left with this. Because I'm playing the open D string if I moved up. Anyway, that's why we use that pointer finger there. All right, so I know I just said this is the C inversion. It is the C inversion because it is a C major chord, but it is the open inversion for this C major chord, okay? So I'm gonna show you the closed position C major shape down here, but I'm gonna scoot it down and put it in another key because I know you might not have a cutaway on yours, and I know it gets kind of hairy up here. I know that frets get closer together, our fingers don't get smaller. So anyway, so check this out. Pinky, start with your pinky, if you can reach this. Pinky's on the 15 of the A string, okay? Notice that the 15 and the 3rd fret of the A string are the same note. Sorry, that's Marley. I thought somebody was knocking. There he is, he's right behind me. There he is. Sweet boy. All right, pinky. 15 of the A string. Sorry, I keep wanting to say high E. Pinky's on the 15 of the A. Ring is going to be on the 14 of the D. Pointer finger is on the 12 of the G. Middle finger is on the 13 of the B string. There's no bar involved on this in this version of this. But if you want to use, usually in the textbooks, they'll bar that little bit and get. See, it's the D shape. It's all the same thing, but. So you bar so fret-wise, 15 of the A, 14 of the D, pointer fingers covering the 12 of the G, middle fingers covering the 13 of the B, and then your pointer fingers also barring the 12th fret of the high E string. So, but if I move that down, so if I put it in A, let's for instance, so now let me go over these and then we're gonna scoot them around and maybe it'll help. So here's C, I'm gonna spell the whole thing. I got C, this is my A inversion, this is my G inversion, this is my E, this is my D inversion, and here's my C again. Notice that some of them, they overlap, right? Like with the G inversion, it overlaps the A inversion, right? And then the G also overlaps the E inversion, right? So whatever it's in between, it's overlapping pretty hard. The connection between the D inversion and the C inversion is important. Sorry. One take, right? We're just doing this in one take. There's no editing involved. So if I a couple of these in different inversions. So let's put it in E, for instance, right? So if we started this inversion on the E, the next one would be the D inversion, right? And then C.A.G.E.D, right? And then we're back to E at the top. So here's all my E majors in the C.A.G.E.D system, okay? So we're gonna start with my E major, just regular old cowboy yeehaw. E major, right? All right, so what I'm gonna do is, because I know that the D inversion, the root of the chord is on the B string, right? So here's my D chord, right? And I could cold turkey go D, D sharp, E, and there it is, right? But if I wanted to think, okay, C.A.G.E.D system, okay, E, there's my E right there. There's my politically correct, full big mama D inversion in the C.A.G.E.D system for an E major chord, right? That second fret of the D, ring finger's on the 4th fret of the G, pinky's on the 5th fret of that B string. So 2nd of the D, 4 of the G, pinky's on the 5 of the B string, and then ring finger is on the 4th fret of the high E. So now I don't really use this inversion a whole lot, but I just want you to be aware of it. The main one I use is I play the D. I'll play this version and do that one a whole lot. So anyways, we got E, D, and now we're gonna start back at C again, okay? Now remember, C and D they look a lot alike. Remember what we did down here? They're connected, they overlap. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach up. I know we got an E, right? We got an E. There's my other E, 7th fret of the A string, right? This is just kind of my thought process. So there's my A, on the A string, there's my E, I'm an E, right? E major, right? Like elephant, E. We got 7th fret with our pinky of the A string. Ring fingers on the 8th fret of the D. Pointer fingers on the 4 of the G string. So we got 8 of the A, 7 of the D, 4 of the G. Middle finger is going to play the 5th fret of that high E string. And if you want, you can bar the 4th fret and get that 4th fret of the high E in there. So I've got fret-wise 8, 7, 4, 5, 4. But remember, that note is optional. You don't have to bar. You can just fret everything like this without the bar, and then don't even play the high E. That's a really nice closed position inversion. I'll usually play this one in that case. So okay, we got this is a C. We're gonna play an A. I gotta learn how to spell. We got this is our E inversion. Sorry, A inversion of this E major chord, right? We're still building it off the A string, right? 7th fret of the A. We're gonna have the 9th fret of the D, 9th fret of the G, 9th fret of the B string. Golly. These chords just get me so excited. I've got 7, 9 of the D, 9 of the G, 9 of the B string. If you want to remember, we can do the literal A, an A shape, how we do it down here. And that would be on the middle finger on the 9 of the D, rings on the 9 of the G, pinkies on the 9 of the B string, right? Pointer fingers covering the 7 of the A. You can play the middle 4 if you want to bar it, get the full thing. And you get that note in there. The thing about this inversion is the higher up I go, like I cannot fit my fingers in there. So I'll do do the bar. So that ring for the E major shape would be 7 on the A, and then my ring is covering the 9 of the D, G, and the B string. Boom, there it is. And I don't play the high E. So we got E, D, and then here's our C, and then here's our A. Now here's the G shape, and I'm gonna break it up into 2 sections. I'm gonna show you the full version. There's our full G shape for the E inversion, but I would go pinky on the low E, 12th fret, rings on the 11 of the A, pointer is gonna be on the 9 of the D, G, and the B string. If you want to just get that one's great. The other, the yin to the yang on that, cutting the G in half, I go lay my pointer finger down on the D, G, and the B, and then my pinky's playing the 12th fret of that high E string. Notice the E here on the low E string on the 12th fret, which you know that. But that's where I'm building this off of, okay? And then the E shape once more, we've got this, right? And we're back home to, it's just that up 12 frets. But I hope this helps. If you have any questions about this kind of thing, Please let me know and I'll make another video. But I hope this helps. Good luck, Ronnie. Have fun, man.